Can you believe what makes us unique as Mexican is one of the most discriminated features in Mexico? It is a shame, but it's true. In Mexico, indigenous population is really discriminated. Even though all of us have as Mexican inherence of this population, the more indigenous traits you have, the fewer opportunities you will have in the society. So let's talk about this absurd stereotype that has been harming the Mexican identity and the Mexican society. Have you ever listened to the affirmation you don't look like Mexican? This leads to an stereotype of how Mexicans should look. And inside and outside Mexico, if you have more traits or attributes related to white or European persons, you are more valuable. This led me to recall how was the situation back in days when the Spanish conquering, where the Spanish were imposing and established that they were superior than the races or than the indigenous attributes that were already established in the region. So that led me to think like what are we doing as Mexican society and why we haven't learned about the history. According with INEGI, the first reason people is discriminated is because the way you look. So this means if you are darker color, if you are not dressing as I expected, or if you are higher or taller, you will be discriminated. Also, the word indio has been using in a negative connotation as an insult, where indio is referring to a person that doesn't have any knowledge or doesn't have any education, not just in academic but also in the moral. The main role that society, or the main way society have adopted this idea of indigenous people that they don't know, it's about the media, or the media and the communication we have in our society. For example, La India Maria was a show that was supposed to represent the life of a indigenous woman in a social context or actual social context, where she's portrayed as a very dumb, inadaptable, and incompetent person in the context, which make it comical. But if we analyze it in a very rational way, it's a very violent way of discrimination and of stereotyping a population. Also, there is a prejudgment that these media have involved or push us to believe that these kind of persons are dumb, and only the rich people is related with the richness, happiness, and success in life. Roma, it's a movie that is more recent in our nowadays, but people didn't jump when this actress Yalitza Aparicio made the role in the movie as a domestic employer, because why? They are supposed to make that work. But when people jump was when she was in Hollywood, when she was making progress in her actress career. Mexican people start to bully her or to criticizing her because she didn't belong in that context, and she was not able to wear that kind of clothes. She was not able to be related with that kind of people just because the way she looks. Most of these comments were made from Mexicans. When I tell you that we are harming our Mexican identity and our Mexican society, is because we are pushing away a part of a society that make us Mexican, that has the knowledge and has the heritage to teach us about what makes us unique. This population of indigenous people live all days discrimination, which represent disadvantages for them and lack of representation in the economy, in the society, and in the politics. For example, 82.9% of the persons in Mexico ignores the richness that this kind of pueblos or this kind of population can bring to our identity and diversity as Mexican. And at least 34% of Mexicans rejects to have indigenous roots, as if it's something wrong or as if it's something less valuable. This led me to think, are we really proud of our identity, or we are doing the same as the Spanish conquering make in the past? These type of problems led a lot of social problems such as illiteracy. So we have lack of education for this population, and of course we have lack of representation in the normal context that we see nowadays. There are not a lot of people in politics. There are a lot of people making their own business because they don't receive the same opportunities because this stereotype. This is something that has to be changed now. The main problem is that this stereotype have led to poverty of an entire community or population. How we can start to change it? By giving representation to this population in powerful roles, such as in the academic, in the political, or in the economy, in order for them to be more visible and for them to be part of the society and stop to be excluded. Also, the knowledge that we normally learn as Mexican, it has to be started to discuss in the context, because normally this goes outside the context and we see this population as something very far away from us that doesn't allow us to identify as the same culture or as the same country even. Also, one of the main problem is that people of this community are just used by the benefit. If we understand that these indigenous populations are not objects for studying, but they are talkers of knowledge, our society as Mexicans are gonna start to change, because we nowadays see this indigenous or this inherence as something in the past, when it's something that is still alive, and it's up to us to keep it alive, because it's what makes us unique as a Mexican identity, and which also represents who we are, because at the end we are a mix of cultures, and also that involves a mix of genes and a mix of races, if you want to see it like that, which we should be proud of share them, because that's what makes us unique. So let's start to change this stereotype, because our reality needs to change.